Welcome back to Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions. We answer them live here on Facebook. So had a question submitted in the Service Autopilot Facebook users group, how to go out and create route density. So a gentleman owns a lawn care company, but this would be applicable for pretty much any service business that does routing. He is mid-season and he's adding a secondary mowing crew, and he wants to know how can he go out and not injure or affect the route density on the first crew, but allow both crews to have route density. So I'm going to answer that question. And as you're looking at this will actually apply to the beginning of the season. So this is something that most of our businesses we work with in the South and Southwest don't deal with a lot, because traditionally they run 12 months a year. So if you have a major spike of sales in the spring, this is applicable for that South or Southwest market. But then in addition, if you're in the Northern market where I'm at in upstate New York, we traditionally go dormant for 3 to 4 months in the winter. We don't actually go out and service those businesses or residential homes. So that has forced us to create a process to go out and create route density when we go out and route. So I'm going to show you some best practices in one of our test accounts here, and give you an idea of how we tackled it in my business. So what I'm going to do is, as usual, drop the screen here and lower this out. But if you have any comments, questions, drop them below here in the live recorded version. I'm happy to answer them. But the idea here is we're in Service Autopilot. So the first thing we want to look at is if you already have the existing routes, or you're going new into the season, is you probably want to take, so we've got 163 jobs in this test account here. And what I would do is probably go into the grouping selection and take all of those jobs that you're looking at. And then once you click and we've got them, I would go in and assign it to a needs to be scheduled account here. So what we're going to do is check it to mowing schedule to be scheduled and hit update. And this would be permanent, but in this test account, I don't want to screw the data up too much as I'm manipulating them. This may take a few minutes just because there is a lot of data points here. But what that is going to do is take all of those jobs and then send them to that one 2020 lawn mowing needs to be routed. You can kind of see as the screen's updating here, those yellows are all, or the blues are all turning to yellow. So it's going to be all on one main crew. So what we're going to do is take all of our accounts and bucket them together on one screen. And then what I would recommend is going in and routing those two routes. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, possibly Friday if you are going 5 days a week. But what you'd want to do, in my opinion, is route truck 1 and truck 2 here, so they start from the farthest part apart and they go together. So traditionally at Callahan's, this is what we did, because if we were all the way out on the east side of town and our shop was on the west side of town, we wanted them to be able to help each other if there was a breakdown or there was an issue. And then in addition to that, once I clear this out, so let's go into this area right here, and fictitiously, let's just say we're going to be out in this area of town today. Or actually, let's go over here where we've got more pins to kind of break this down. But we're going to split this area up in half. So maybe crew number 1 is going to grab this area here. And when you click that in, you double click, it's going to close that gap. And what it does is it actually updates in the upper left-hand corner here that we had budgeted hours of 18 hours, 27 jobs, and gross revenue of $900. So if I go into marker display and I break this down to show all markers, it will have all the markers. So maybe my goal is to have a 20-hour day. So let's grab a couple more here. So now we're up to budgeted hours of 28. With a 2-man crew, that's probably going to be too much. So it's going to give us the ability to kind of play the game here to get that. So let's just say this was 20 and we had about $1,000 worth of revenue. That was our goal for that revenue. So total man hours and revenue goal. We would go in and then assign it to, we'll go in and say this is going to be lawn mowing crew number 6. And we would make it permanent. And you want to make sure that we've unchecked all, and we're just assigning it to the mowing crew, say number 6. And then we hit update. So now we have that route dedicated to the first crew, and then the other crew, we could go in and do the same process here. So when you have those two chunks now, you'd want to go in and optimize to start from the outside and go in. Now, there's two reasons. Like I said, if we have a breakdown, it's great. They can help each other out if one's running behind. The other main thing is if you have rain delay and maybe your shop isn't over here where ours was, but it's all the way over here, we wouldn't want to drive all the way back to this area. So we could take what's left of two routes if we got rained out midday and have one crew, as the crews are working in, work that one consolidated area right here. So we're minimizing the drive time. So two crews don't have to have all the extra non-billable drive time. One crew can go out and handle that area and then minimize the drive time, and the other crew can stay closer to the shop. Traditionally at Callahan's, what we did is we took the farthest away areas from the shop and worked our way back to the shop all the way through Thursday. We went from Monday to Thursday, 410s, and then Friday and Saturday were rain delays if we needed them. But that allowed us to really optimize and catch up for any rain delays or holidays as we went in. So first idea is you want to go in, chunk all the areas out, and use the group selection for budgeted hours and total revenue. And then once you have them each day for two crews together, you want to route them so they run into each other. So if there's issues, they can help each other. And if there's a rain delay, that both crews don't have to drive all the way to the other side of the town or city if that's the issue going on. So the next step, as you're doing this here, you want to pay attention to how many budgeted hours and total revenue for each crew, and make sure you're scheduling appropriately. Because if you set a budget to a certain amount of dollars or man hours per crew and you're not paying attention, that can erode your bottom line profits immediately. And in addition, so like, let's just say our fertilization and weed control crew at Callahan's was between about $1,200 to $1,300 a day for a one-man technician. And that was our revenue point with budgeted hours that we had tied to it for what routing as we pulled them off the waiting list. So the next thing you want to do is make sure your teams are set up. So like we said, we've got the 2020 Mo schedule list. So this is, if this gentleman's watching this video, I would take all of your lawn mowing accounts and put them all and group them in there with no emotion, and then chunk them out geographically so they run into each other. And on those crews, we want to go down. So if we went into, say, Mo crew number 6, we are going to go in and make sure, I'm just going to hit some of the high spots that you want to do. So you want, obviously, the description, the team code, the map color icon, the starting address. That's important because when you go to use the route optimization, if there isn't the starting address of that truck, it's not going to be able to fully optimize it. So that's why it's very important to have that in there. And then team assignments, we'd go in and add our 2 resources, our 2 employees, and the days of the week they can work. So if they couldn't work on a Sunday, we wouldn't put Sunday on there. But otherwise, we leave it open to all 7 days selected because they would then be available to be routed on those jobs. So those are the foundational parts of that. In addition, you want to have your employees set up with payroll and job costing tab taken care of. Now, next thing is, if we go in and now we've seen some kind of gaps and inefficiency as far as density, we want to go in and go into the CRM client screen. And once again, in this test account, I've got all of the clients in here, and these are all the pins that we were servicing. So what I would do is zoom in, and let's just say we've got a gap here, and it's not as dense in this area. So I want to build some route density in this residential neighborhood because we're pretty dense in here. Right here, it looks like we could probably use some help. So we're going to dial into this area here, and I'm going to go to satellite. And once you go in there, now you can really see, okay, yeah, we are pretty dense over here, but we need some density over here. That's going to affect us. Or maybe we've got some stuff all around this area, but we don't have anything in this block here. So what you could do is go into these sparsely populated neighborhoods and just continue to dial in. And this is actually probably a good example here. So we've got one home over here, but nothing else in this whole area. So what I'm going to do is go in and right-click on the houses in this neighborhood. So we've got one in there, but we don't have that many. So as we click those pins down, on the left here, it's building a marketing list. So I'd recommend as your admin, if they're slow, they can do this. If not, we used to hire college kids to come in part-time during break. And we would take this list and build out custom fields. So we'd go in and measure the turf square footage of these properties. And then through some automations and some processes we used inside the business, we could send out automated pricing for these properties with property specific pricing with upsell opportunities. The idea is when you dial in now, you're creating a marketing list. So now I've got 10 homes around the one that I've already got, and we're just going to keep selecting. And this is how we had upwards of 10,000 homes in our database to continue to do this. So you just go in and keep dropping those pins. And Jonathan Potoshnik of the Lawn Care Millionaire always talks about 9-around. So every time we got a new account, before we used a product like Send Jim, we'd manually go in and create 9 or 12-arounds basically of all the properties around it to build density. Or in this example, if we only had one home in the neighborhood or that blue pin, we'd go in and tag all 50 or 60 of these homes and start sending property specific mailings. In addition, depending what part of the country you're in, based on the question that you submitted, how do I build more route density or not affect the density I already have in that main crew, is what we did is, and it probably didn't make our competition happy, but we would actually go in and drive around all the neighborhoods we were in or the neighborhoods that we were around here. And what we would do is literally drive down the street. And as we drove down the street, we could tell based on the striping in the grass here of the lawn we were cutting, because I knew that's commercial. It looks like there's another one over here. We would write down all the service addresses in a notebook. And then once again, in the winter season, we would go in and create a qualified database and physically mail out hard copy contracts or proposals to all the people. And on the envelope, it would say lawn mowing customer. So 2 different ways of tackling it. I recommend both. But the idea here is at first you want to go to your dispatch board and select or put all your mowing accounts on one account or one map, break them up, and then assign days to them, route them together for overlap, for breakdowns and weather delays to minimize non-billable drive time. When you do that, you want to set up a team for, let's say, 2020 mow schedule list. So that's the mowing that needs to be scheduled. And we take that large bucket and pull it off, assign it, and then optimize it and save it to recur weekly or bi-weekly. And then our main mowing teams, we want to make sure that we have a starting address and team assignments. And the final thing is we go into CRM clients and we grab all of our clients there, and we go in and actually create a property specific lead list. So we have one client, we're going to grab all the other homes, we're going to measure them, and through some automations and other processes, we'll send property specific pricing to all the other homes in this specific neighborhood. And as we dial back out, it's really easy to see where are we really dense and where are we needing to add some density in between routes. So that's how I would tackle it. Hopefully that makes sense. First thing is to take all your accounts, put them on one basically bucket account, and then we want to go in and chunk them out, route them together, set up your teams with assignments and starting points. Then we go into our CRM client list, just like we are here, and we go in and drop the pins where we need to build density. We do property specific pricing based on the lead list that we are creating. Those are the secrets that we had success in Callahan's Lawn Care, as well as going in and using a product called Send Jim to do those automated 9-arounds to build and do this automatically. So every time a new client popped in, it would grab the 9 surrounding homes and automatically fire off a series of postcards to build that route density. So comments, questions, pre-drop them now in the recorded or live version. Callahan's Corner, you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook.